What? Did you think I was going to use the same music for book 2? Come on, I've got 8 music tracks, 1 for each book, and they're even themed to the books as well. So, it's time for The Way of Tiger, book 2. Here we go. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in Quan. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry, and as you can guess from that introduction, it's time once again to return to the way of the tiger. I had the good fortune to meet Jamie Thomson, one of the authors of The Way of the Tiger, back at Fighting Fantasy Fest last month now, and we had a little chat. It was great, and I've been wanting to get back to this for a while now anyway. Last time, on my previous attempt at book through, I didn't particularly set a foot wrong, but I came to a combat encounter where the dice were against me and everything did not go my way, and so thus ended a very good playthrough. If I should happen to walk a very similar path this time, know that it's because it makes for a better story than some of the other options. I'm not going to be reading the rules, as we did that at the start of book 1, but I will read the background of the adventure. And if you're new to the series, by all means, please go back and watch the book 1 playthrough. I'll probably throw a link to the first episode in the description, or maybe a sticky comment as well. Here we go, and I've kept book 1 open for a very specific reason, which we will probably get to at some point during this episode. I've, not book 1, book 2. Got my character sheet ready, same state as it was in at the end of book 1. So as you can see, we got a +1 kick modifier, a +1 fate modifier, 5 inner force, 20 endurance, because those were fully restored by the god Quan himself. I have one of my 5 shuriken remaining. The first one was thrown, I don't believe, at the ogre in book 1, but it's something else in book 1. And then 3 were used simultaneously in the massive showdown against Yaemon on the roof of the fortress. I have here my skills, including the new one that I picked up at the end of book 1. A gift from the god himself. I have my ninja tools. The flash powder was used, I believe, against Olvar the Chaosbringer. And the blood of Nil was obviously used against Honoric, commander of the Legion of Doom. I have an opal ring, a pouch with 15 gold pieces in it, some essence of fire newt, which was gained, I believe, from the swamps around the castle, and I haven't had to use it yet, and the scrolls of Kettsuin, those sacred scrolls which must be returned to my temple. I have some clues from Book 1, space for clues for Book 2. I may call upon Quan to redeem me once and once only during this adventure. There are a number of times during this adventure in which it can be done, and not all of them work. Quan's power will not save me in the presence of great evil, or if I am too far down below the earth, too far from the sun. I think there's about 4 or 5 times it can be used, and only 1 or 2 of them does it come in useful. I also have a note here about a typo. This has been corrected in the new and very rare and extremely hard to get hold of colour illustrated editions, whereas in the old edition, which I got the PDF of, I'll just have to remember this. Do not... Right, okay. There's a misprint on the number entry 201. If you ever end up on that page, do not turn to 136, turn to 21 instead. Excellent. So here we are. On the magical world of Orb, alone in a sea that the people of the Man March call endless, lies the mystical island of tranquil dreams. Many years have passed since the time when, as an infant, you first saw its golden shores and emerald rice meadows. A servant brought you, braving the distant leagues of the ponderous ocean from lands to which you have never returned. Your loyal servant laid you, an orphan, at the steps of the Temple of the Rock, praying that the monks would care for you, for she was frail and dying of a hideous curse. Monks have lived on the island for centuries, dedicated to the worship of their god Quan. He who speaks the holy words of power, supreme master of unarmed combat. They live only to help others resist the evil that infests the world. Seeing that you were alone and needed care, the monks took you in and you became an acolyte at the Temple of the Rock. Nothing was made of the strange birthmark shaped like a crown which you carry on your thigh, though you remember that the old servant insisted that it was of mystical importance. Whenever you have asked about this, the monks have bade you meditate and be patient. The most ancient and powerful of them all, Naijishi, grandmaster of the dawn, became your foster father. He gave you guidance and training in the calm goodness of Quan, knowledge of men and their ways, and how to meditate so that your mind floats free of your body and rides the winds in search of truth. From the age of 6, however, most of your time has been spent learning the way of the tiger. Now you are a ninja, a master of the martial arts and a deadly assassin who can kill the most powerful enemies unseen and unsuspected. Like a tiger, you are strong, stealthy, agile, patient in the stalking of prey, and deadly. In the land of plenty and the Man March, the fabled ninja, known as the Men with No Shadow, are held in awe. The mere mention of ninja strikes fear into people's hearts, but you are one of the few who worship Quan and follow the way of the tiger. You use your skill as a bringer of death to rid the world of evildoers. At an early age, you hung by the hands for hours on end from the branches of trees to strengthen your arms. You ran for miles, your light-footed speed enough to keep a 30-foot ribbon trailing above the ground. You trod tight ropes as agile as a monkey. Now you swim like a fish and leap like a tiger. You move like the whisper of the breeze and glide through the blackest night like a shade. Before he died, Najishi taught you the ninja's covenant. The ninja no Chigiri. I will vanish into the night, change my body to wood or stone, sink into the earth and walk through walls and locked doors. I will be killed many times, yet will not die, change my face and become invisible, able to walk among men without being seen. It was after your foster father Naijishi's death that you began to live the words of the Covenant. A man came to the island, Yaemon, grandmaster of flame. Using borrowed sorcery, he tricked the monks into believing that he was a worshipper of Quan from the great continent. He was indeed a monk, but he worshipped Quan's twisted brother Vile, who helps the powerful to subdue the weak and wicked men to rule fools. Yaemon slew Naijishi. No one could match him in unarmed combat, and he stole the scrolls of Kettsuin from the temple. Once more you knew the pain of loss, for you had loved Naijishi as a father. You swore an oath to Quan that day. You would avenge his death. As chronicled in the book Avenger, you used your skills as a hunter and a bringer of death to avenge the killing of Naijishi, your spiritual father. You tracked his murderer Yaemon, grandmaster of the evil monks of the Scarlet Mantis, to Quench Heart Keep in the shadow of the Goblin's Teeth Mountains. A ranger, Glavas, brought you across the endless sea on his ship, the Aquamarine, and you landed in the city of Doomover, in the Man March. You travelled hundreds of leagues through the wilderness, crossing the mountains of Vision at Fortune Pass, where you were forced to kill Olvar the Chaosbringer, a berserk barbarian. Thence you journeyed to the Sea of the Star, to Druaf Glenan, and now to Quench Heart Keep. Yaemon had stolen the scrolls of Kettsuin, which hold the secret to the word of power which would bind your god Quan in Inferno. 2 other powerful and evil men had joined him. Each knew another such word of power to bind a god or goddess in the lake of boiling blood for eternity. You stand now on the rain-washed roof of the great keep. You have just killed Yaemon's allies, poisoned Honoric, leader of the dreaded Legion of the Sword of Doom with the blood of Nil, and slaughtered Mance the Death Mage, a reverencer of Nemesis, the most powerful of the gods of evil. Their bodies lie chill and cold nearby. After a great battle with Yaemon, you have now triumphed again and are revenged. With his dying breath, he has told you that he was responsible for the death of your true father, whom you never knew. Now he lies before you. In death he seems smaller and less imposing than in life. His scarlet jacket, now drenched with rain and sweat, has fallen open to reveal a waxed parchment, the scrolls of Kettsuin, and a map of Orb. You are about to open these when a wondrous feeling of peace overwhelms you, and the voice of your god Quan sounds all around you. The Grandmaster of the Dawn named you well, Avenger, for now it is Yaemon, and not I, who will languish in the lake of boiling blood in Inferno. If you had failed, the Legion of Doom and the monks of the Scarlet Mantis would have swept across the Man March, aided by the priests who revere Nemesis, and all mankind would have lived in terror under the evil overlords you have slain. Your wounds are healed. As if by a miracle, a new strength floods into your body as the god gives you inner force. You feel dazed and awed by what is happening, and the sense of Quan's goodness fills your soul with enlightenment. There is little time now, Avenger, for the gods of evil move against us. You must return the scrolls of Kettsuin to their rightful place at the Temple of the Rock on the island of Tranquil Dreams. Your journey will be beset with dangers, but I will aid you. Choose a skill from the way of the tiger which you have not yet mastered, and I will grant you its knowledge. It shall be as if you had practiced it from your birthing. The god continues. I will help you but once, at a time of great danger. If you truly have need of me, say only, Quan, redeem me, and I shall be your salvation. I will watch over you, Avenger, for it is my hope that one day you will join me in the Garden of the Gods. As Quan's presence leaves, you cannot stop yourself calling out, "Who was my real father?" It is as if the wind itself speaks to you as the voice of Quan fades. It is not yet time, Avenger. You shrug your shoulders defiantly as the malice of the gods of evil seems to beat upon your back. They will put many obstacles in your way, and you will never see the beautiful island of tranquil dreams again if fate should turn her back on you. You shiver, noticing the coldness of the rain for the first time. Quan has departed, and you are alone once more. I will now skip over the combat and equipment roles, and we have already chosen our new skill. Fate is normally a 7+, so that 6 is already factoring in. Okay, good to know. Interestingly, the equipment list here flash powder. Usually you carry enough for one use only, but you have already used your powder. You will have to wait until you can obtain some more. And the blood of Nil. You usually carry one dose of the most virulent poison known on Orb, but you have already used it to kill Honoric. This venom is extremely difficult and very dangerous to collect, for it is taken from the barb of a scorpion son of the god Nil, mouth of the void. Okay, special rules for Book 2. If you have not played and successfully completed Book 1, Avenger, in the Way of the Tiger series, I have, then you begin this book with the equipment listed. If you have successfully completed Book 1, then you should continue, Assassin, with the same character. Simply transfer all the information on your original character sheet to the one given in Book 2. You will begin with the number of shuriken you had left in Book 1, but your endurance and inner force scores have been restored to maximum by your god Quan. You have also learned one new skill from the existing list of 8. Add one you have chosen to your character sheet. You also continue Book 2 with any special items you may have picked up on your journey to Quench Heart Keep. Most importantly, you should transfer all your modifiers, Fate, Punch, Kick, and Throw, to your new character sheet and the knowledge of Quan's Flail if you learned that skill in Book 1. With these skills and weapons at your disposal, you are now a ninja warrior and ready to take a step in the way of the tiger. Now turn to Section 1. And that is exactly what we are going to do. I know it's taken a few minutes, but here we are. From the echoing footfalls, you guess that more than 20 soldiers are running up the keep's spiral staircase towards you, and they will surely try to kill you when they find out what you have done to their leader, Honoric, and his allies Yaemon and Mance the Death Mage. The roof is still dimly lit by the glowing coals from a brazier. Will you defend the top of the staircase so that they can only come at you singly, and hope they don't bear you down onto the roof and force their way through weight of numbers through the door? Try an enormous leap from the keep's roof, hoping that you can clear the castle wall and land in the moat far below. That sounds very risky. We don't have a acrobatics jumping type skill yet. If you are skilled at climbing, a skill I believe we picked up at the very end of the last book, you may wish to climb down the outside wall of the Great Keep, and I think that's a very good idea. Absolutely going to do that. You dart nimbly to the edge of the keep's roof and fix your cat's claws to your wrists and hands. And fixing your cat's claws to your wrists and hands, begin the difficult descent towards the grass of the inner bailey below. You can hear exclamations of horror from the guards above as they discover Yaemon's body, but none of them thinks to look down the sheer sides of the great keep. You are halfway down before a break in the clouds allows the light of the moon to shine through. A guard in the bailey sees what he takes to be a huge black spider walking down the keep wall and unleashes a crossbow bolt at you. Do you have the skill of arrow cutting? We do indeed. If we did not, it would go poorly for us. With perfect judgment, you whip your leg around and across behind your back as you cling to the wall, and across the path of the bolt which smashes through a window to your right. The cat's claws begin to slip, furrowing the stone of the sheer wall, and you are forced to twist your body through the broken glass of the window before the cat's claws come away completely, and you cut yourself in the process. Lose 2 endurance. So be it. Our first injury of the book. Still much better than being shot with a crossbow bolt in the back while climbing down the castle wall. When you have smashed your way through the window, you find yourself in a deserted bedchamber with a door which appears out on the spiral staircase, which this leads to the bottom of the keep. As you glide down, you hear the clatter of guards coming down from the roof behind you, and a bugle which blows 5 sharp notes. You reach the hallway, and the clank of armour alerts you as soldiers appear at both ends of the hall, but there is a doorway ahead of you. If you played Avenger, did you kill the keep's torturer in the torture chamber? Yes, I did. I'm not sure of a way to get through that without killing him. The door opposite leads down to the castle dungeon where you killed the keep's torturer and set the prisoners free earlier this night. Beyond the torture chamber lies a dead beast called an elder god, and a grill which leads to freedom beyond the garden moat. You remember that there is a crossbow trap which may be primed to go off if you step on a certain flagstone, so you use a flying winged horse to kick to clear the flagstones and push open the door in one motion. As you leap, one of the soldiers unleashes a bolt from his crossbow. If you have the skill of arrow cutting, you're able to knock the quarrel aside with an iron-rodded forearm. If you do not have this skill, the bolt buries itself in your side and you lose 6 endurance, but sail through the door and leap down the steps beyond it. Fortunately, we do still have the skill of arrow cutting. We don't get hit by a crossbow bolt. The soldiers follow with a clatter of mail as you burst into the torture chamber. The ducking stool still hangs over the pool of water, and the dead torturer with his spiked leather bracelets and a black hood is still face down in the icy pool. You dive in and swim towards the spot where you hope to find the water-filled tunnel, knowing that the soldiers will not be able to follow. You soon find an opening under the water, but to your surprise, there are 2 tunnels. You only saw one when you came this way before, so which is it? Will you swim down the wider tunnel to the left, or the narrower tunnel to the right? When we swam in here, we missed a second tunnel somehow. What is more likely? That we missed a great big wide tunnel you could drive a bus through, or a narrow side tunnel that we could have easily missed if we weren't paying much attention. Let's take the wider tunnel to the left. Also, fighting fantasy rule. So, left for now. We don't get to use reverse fighting fantasy rule till book 3 or 4, I think. You swim powerfully along the underground tunnel for a minute before surfacing in a dark cavern. You remember the smell of putrefying flesh which greets you, and you inch your way along the cavern wall past the dead body of the elder god. At last you are below the dead monster's feeding hole, and you leap up and grab the metal casement into which the iron grill fits. You haul yourself out onto the grass beside the grill and pause in the darkness to gain your breath. You have escaped Quench Heart Keep, at least for the moment. As you consider which way to turn, you hear the baying of bloodhounds and the yelp of war dogs. Will you skirt the castle and run towards the Goblin's Teeth Mountains that tower above it? Run against the south wind towards the Sea of the Star, or head for the city of Druaf Glennan? Well now, we'll grab the book, the map from book 1. So we're in Quench Heart Keep. The Goblin's Teeth Mountains run a little more like that. And we have the Sea of the Stars over here. We could go straight to the Goblin's Teeth Mountains, but I'm going to go to the city of Druaf Glennan to hopefully blend in with the crowds, mask my smell with the smell of other people, wash, and then, while they're searching through crowds, slowly get out of there. Also because it makes for a slightly more enjoyable story than the other two. Slightly. Yeah, come on. You cover the many miles to Dref Glenann in a few hours, arriving soon after the peasants have begun their day's work harvesting in the fields. Just inside the city gates, nestling among the wooden houses with their brightly painted balconies, is the Hydra's Heads Inn. If you would like to go in and order breakfast after the rigours of your night raid in Quench Heart Keep, then you'd be walking into a crowded establishment where people might notice you. If you'd rather continue along Bunghole Road towards the quarters of the well-to-do, sure, we can take that option. Bunghole Road climbs steadily away from the Hydra's Heads Inn, and the area of the All-Mother Hostel into a part of the city where the streets are wider and where many of the houses have gardens full of yellow All-Mother's splendour and the moon lilies. You catch sight of a priest who worships Vile, the evil brother of your god Quan, and turn a corner out of his sight. As you walk along, a white dove lands on your shoulder. It bears a small bead in its beak, which it drops into your palm before flying off. On inspection, you find that the bead is hollow, and you pull its halves apart to find a ball of parchment. Unravelling it reveals a cryptic message. Flee. Flee as fast as you can. Flee the city in the direction least expected. You are being watched. You swallow the parchment and look around. There is no one in sight. Will you walk on through the city? Run to the northern wall of the city and climb out over it? Or to the harbour gate to see if you can stow away on a ship? Well, getting back to our map. I'm being pursued from Quench Heart Keep. If I just walk around in the city, I'm bound to get noticed. Even if I try and hide and blend within the crowd, someone will realise, hey, there's a man walking around, right? They will expect me to try and get a ship. They won't expect me to double back and go straight toward Quench Heart Keep, to the north. So I shall do that. Run to the northern wall of the city and climb out over it. As you make the easy climb over the city wall at a point where the rotted caravan rests against it, you hear someone whispering somewhere in the shadows. At the top you look round and catch sight of a young woman with a face cleverly made up to look like a cat's. She smiles at you but turns away and walks back into the city, and you let yourself down the 20 feet to the ground below. It is at this point I will point out that in the first book we met with Deirdre, a sorceress. An enchantress, rather, whose face was expertly painted to look like that of a cat, and who has a pet dove. She seemed to be in favour of our quest, and an ally, and it would appear she's helped us again, and this is why I kept Book 1 open. You're not far from the city when a band of horsemen leave the west gate. You decide to take an unexpected route towards the Goblin's Teeth Mountains. As you skirt through the woods, knowing that this will slow the horses, the baying of hounds tells you that the men from the keep are hunting you. As the hounds close in, you run towards the mountains, hoping that you'll be able to climb where they cannot, and escape west through the peaks. Let's see how that goes. As you climb into the foothills, the note of the hounds' baying changes. They have been set free on your trail. The going is tough as you climb into the mountains, but you know that you can reach a rock face. But you know that if you reach a rock face, you can climb away from all pursuit for a while anyway.
You are struggling towards a wall of dark rock illumined in the first rays of the grey dawn when the ground shifts suddenly beneath your feet and you tumble down a tunnel. And I believe it is at this point that we shall tumble into the very next episode. I reckon this one's been a decent length. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'll say goodbye for now, and see you all next time. Cheerio, everyone.